I never liked working the night shift at the gas station, but I needed the money for college. It was a small place, just off the highway, surrounded by woods on 3 sides. Hardly any customers came in after midnight, so I usually just sat behind the counter, studying or watching videos on my phone to pass the time. It was around 2 a.m. when I first noticed him, a figure standing at the edge of the trees, barely visible in the dim glow of the parking lot lights. At first I thought it was just a trick of the shadows, but then I saw him move. He took a step forward, then another, slowly emerging from the darkness. I felt a chill run down my spine as he approached the gas station. He was wearing a dark hoodie, pulled up over his head, and his face was obscured. I couldn't make out any features, just the outline of his chin and nose. He stopped just outside the door, standing perfectly still, facing me through the glass. I tried to act normal, pretending to be engrossed in my phone, but I could feel his eyes on me. Minutes ticked by, but he didn't move. He just stood there, staring. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I looked up, meeting his gaze. "Can I help you?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't respond. He just tilted his head slightly, as if considering me. Then, slowly, he raised his hand and pressed it against the glass door. I watched, my heart pounding, as he traced his fingers down the surface, leaving streaks on the glass. I reached for the phone, ready to call the police, but when I looked back up, he was gone. I let out a shaky breath, trying to calm myself. It was just some weirdo, I told myself. Probably high or drunk. Nothing to worry about. But then, it happened again. The next night and the night after that. Always around the same time. Always the same figure. Standing just outside the door, staring at me. I started to dread my shifts, jumping at every shadow, every sound. I tried talking to my manager about it, but he just laughed it off. "Probably just some homeless guy," he said. "Don't worry about it. He's harmless." But I knew better. There was something off about him. Something that made my skin crawl. The way he watched me. The way he seemed to appear and disappear, like a ghost. One night, I decided to confront him. I waited until I saw him emerge from the trees. Then I marched outside, my heart racing. "Hey!" I yelled, trying to sound tough. "What do you want? Why do you keep coming here?" He didn't answer. He just stood there, his face hidden in the shadows of his hood. I took a step closer, my fists clenched at my sides. "I'm talking to you," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "Leave me alone, or I'll call the cops." That's when he moved. Faster than I could blink, he lunged forward, closing the distance between us in a heartbeat. I stumbled back, my eyes wide with fear, as he loomed over me. Up close, I could see his eyes, glinting in the darkness. They were cold, empty, like a doll's eyes. He reached out, his hand closing around my throat, and I felt the world start to spin. I clawed at his fingers, gasping for air, but his grip was like iron. As my vision began to fade, I heard him speak for the first time. His voice was low, rasping, barely human. "You shouldn't have come outside," he whispered, his breath hot against my ear. "You should have stayed where you were safe." Those were the last words I heard before everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying on the cold pavement, alone. The gas station was dark, closed up for the night. I never saw the hooded figure again, but I can still feel his eyes on me sometimes, watching from the shadows, waiting. I've always been a night owl. There's something about the stillness and quiet of the late hours that I find soothing. So it wasn't unusual for me to be out walking my dog, Max, around 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. We lived in a safe neighborhood, or at least I thought we did. Max was taking his time, sniffing around a lamppost when I first noticed the car. It was parked across the street, engine off, lights dark. I wouldn't have paid it much attention, except that I could have sworn it hadn't been there a minute ago. I shrugged it off and urged Max to keep walking. We made it about half a block before I glanced over my shoulder, just to check. The car was still there. But now, there was a figure standing beside it, silhouetted in the glow of the streetlights, watching me. A chill ran down my spine. I quickened my pace, tugging Max's leash to keep him moving. I heard the car door open and shut, then the unmistakable sound of footsteps, echoing behind me. "Hey!" a man's voice called out. "Wait up a second." I didn't turn around. I just kept walking. Faster now, my heart starting to race. The footsteps grew louder, closer. I risked a glance back and saw him, maybe 20 feet behind me, his face hidden in the shadows. "Leave me alone," I said, loud enough for him to hear. "I don't want any trouble." "No trouble," he replied, his voice unnervingly calm. "I just want to talk to you for a minute." I didn't believe him. Every instinct screamed at me to run, so that's what I did. I broke into a sprint, Max galloping alongside me, the leash slipping from my sweat-slicked hand. I heard the man curse behind me, then the pounding of his feet on the pavement as he gave chase. I ran blindly, cutting across lawns, leaping over hedges, desperate to put distance between us. But he was fast, faster than me, and I could hear him gaining ground. I spotted a narrow alley up ahead, a shortcut to a busier street. I veered toward it, hoping to find help, witnesses, anyone. But as I reached the mouth of the alley, I skidded to a halt, my blood turning to ice. There, blocking my path, was a second man, as big and menacing as the first. I was trapped. I spun around, ready to dart back the way I'd come, but the first man was already there, cutting off my escape. They moved toward me slowly, predators cornering their prey. "What do you want?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "Money? Take my wallet. Just let me go." The first man chuckled, a low, sinister sound. "We don't want your money, sweetheart." I backed away until I hit the alley wall, my whole body trembling. I opened my mouth to scream, but terror stole my voice. The men loomed over me, their faces twisted into leering grins. One of them reached out, his hand grazing my cheek. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing myself for the worst. And then, a deep, vicious growl cut through the night. My eyes flew open just in time to see Max lunge at the man touching me, his teeth sinking into the man's arm. The man howled in pain, staggering back. The second man moved to help his friend, but Max whirled on him, hackles raised, fangs bared. In the confusion, I saw my chance. I bolted, tearing out of the alley and back onto the street, screaming for help at the top of my lungs. Behind me, I heard the men shouting, the sounds of a scuffle, Max's ferocious snarls. I ran until I found a 24-hour convenience store, bursting inside and begging the clerk to call 911. The police found Max a few blocks away, his muzzle bloody, limping from a kick to his ribs. But he'd done his job. He'd saved me. I never walked alone at night again after that, and I never went anywhere without Max by my side. Because in a world full of monsters, sometimes the only thing standing between you and them is a loyal friend, ready to bare his teeth in your defense. I had just moved into a new apartment in the city. It was a nice place, much nicer than my old one. The building was modern with a sleek lobby and a friendly doorman named James. My unit was on the 12th floor with a great view of the skyline. I was excited to start this new chapter in my life. The first few weeks were uneventful as I settled in. I unpacked my boxes, decorated the place to my liking, and started to feel at home. One evening, as I was coming back from work, James greeted me with a puzzled look. "Hey Emily, did you have a visitor earlier? A guy came by asking for you." I furrowed my brow, confused. "No, I wasn't expecting anyone. What did he look like?" James shrugged. Average height, dark hair, wearing a green jacket. He didn't leave a name, just said he was an old friend. I racked my brain, but couldn't think of who it might have been. I thanked James and headed upstairs, not thinking much more of it. A few days later, as I was leaving for work in the morning, I found a small bouquet of flowers outside my door. They were pretty, a mix of white and yellow daisies. But there was no note, no indication of who had left them. I brought them inside, put them in a vase, and tried to push away the uneasy feeling in my stomach. That evening, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It simply said, "Did you like the flowers?" My heart started to race. I replied, asking who it was, but got no response. I told myself it must be a wrong number, a misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Over the next week, more strange things started happening. I'd come home to find my mail opened and scattered across the counter. There were scratching noises outside my door at night. And I kept getting those texts, always from different numbers, always vague and unsettling. "I saw you in the lobby today. You look good in blue. Looks like rain tonight. Don't forget your umbrella." Sweet dreams, Emily. I was starting to feel like I was losing my mind. I went to the police, but without a name or any real threats. There wasn't much they could do. They told me to keep a record of everything, and to let them know if it escalated. One night, as I was getting ready for bed, I heard a loud bang from the living room. I froze, my heart in my throat. Slowly, I crept down the hall and peered around the corner. The window was open, the curtains billowing in the breeze. I was sure I had locked it. On the floor, illuminated by the glow of the city lights, was a piece of paper. With shaking hands, I picked it up and read the words scrawled across it. "I'm watching you." I backed away from the window, my eyes darting around the room. I called the police, and they came to take a report. But there was no sign of forced entry, no fingerprints. Just an open window and a threatening note. I hardly slept after that. Every shadow, every creak sent my heart racing. I started staying with a friend, only going back to my apartment during the day to get my mail and feed my cat. I felt like a prisoner, constantly looking over my shoulder. Then one evening, as I was hurrying out of the building, I ran straight into someone. I stumbled back, an apology on my lips, but the words died in my throat. It was him. The man from the lobby, the one in the green jacket. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Hello, Emily. It's good to finally meet you." I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. He reached out, his fingers grazing my cheek. "Don't be scared. I just want to get to know you." I jerked away, my heart pounding. And then I ran. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs ached. I ran until I was sure he wasn't following me. I moved out of that apartment the next day. I changed my number, deleted my social media, told my friends and family not to give out my information. I thought I could escape, could leave that nightmare behind me. But last week I got a postcard in the mail. There was no return address, just my name printed neatly on the front. I almost didn't open it, but some morbid curiosity got the best of me. Inside was a single line, typed in the center of the card. "I miss you, Emily. See you soon." I've always been a light sleeper, but that night, even the softest creak of the floorboards jolted me awake. At first, I thought it was just the old house settling, but then I heard it again. A faint shuffling sound, like footsteps trying to be quiet. My heart started to race as I lay there in the darkness, straining to listen. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, but then I remembered. I'd left it downstairs on the kitchen counter. Stupid mistake. I held my breath, waiting for the noise to come again. Minutes ticked by in silence. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But then, unmistakably, I heard the footsteps. Slow, deliberate, and getting closer. They were inside the house. I slipped out of bed as quietly as I could and crept to the bedroom door. pressing my ear against it. The footsteps stopped right outside. I could hear breathing on the other side of the door. My mind raced. I lived alone. No one else had a key. Who could possibly be in my house at 3 a.m.? With a trembling hand, I reached for the doorknob, but then I froze. The breathing stopped. Whoever was out there was listening too. I backed away from the door, adrenaline surging through my veins. I had to get out. The window. I could climb out the window. As I fumbled with the latch, I heard the doorknob start to turn, achingly slow. I wrenched the window open and clambered out onto the roof, not daring to look back. I half slid, half fell to the ground, stumbling as I hit the grass. In the distance, a dog started barking frantically. I ran. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get away. My bare feet slapped against the pavement as I sprinted down the dark street. I risked a glance over my shoulder, and my blood ran cold. There, illuminated in the glow of a streetlight, was a figure, standing perfectly still, watching me. I couldn't make out a face, but I could feel their eyes on me, watching, waiting. I ran until my lungs burned, until I reached a 24-hour diner. I burst inside, startling the sleepy-eyed waitress. I babbled something about needing to use the phone, to call the police. She took one look at my wild eyes, and shaking hands, and hurried to get the phone. I stayed there, huddled in a booth until the police arrived. They searched my house, but found no sign of forced entry. No trace that anyone else had been there, but I know what I heard. I know what I saw. I haven't slept a full night since then. Every creak, every shadow makes my heart race. I keep the curtains drawn, the doors locked. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I swear I can still feel those eyes on me, watching, waiting. And I wonder, will they ever come back?